Welcome to episode 2 of What the Fuck VA. We've got Spencer and Courtney here today, and I do self-sponsor, so we're going to talk about a lot of the companies and stuff that I got going on and other things that we're doing. So like Tim Pool out there, he self-sponsors, so he can say all kinds of shit that he wants to. So I took that model from him, and great listener, member of his. But yeah, so I'm the owner of the Fulfilled Veteran Project. We are for profit, and I am the veteran money strategist. So every veteran out there is worth anywhere from $3, possibly $5 million in your lifetime that you don't know about. And the government doesn't want you to know about either. That's why you've been tricked and duped and all this other kind of shit. So I've done this for the past 5 years, and the best and deadliest humans on earth come to me. I've got over 3,000 clients. So SEAL teams, Delta dudes, all that kind of stuff, Air Force One, all that kind of jazz. All those folks come to me because I'm the best in the world at what I do. And I've delivered over $9 billion to my clients in less than 5 years. So it's insane. And it's your money, folks. So just let you know. So make sure you check us out. It's all behind me and on me, the fulfilledveteranproject.com. We've started this podcast. We're going to be on YouTube and on Rumble. Most likely kicked off YouTube pretty fast. Some people around here say fuck a lot. Mostly that's this guy. So just letting you know. All right, folks, get into it. Talking to us today, we got Spencer and Courtney. Courtney and I already had a little bit of pre-chat, so we don't know anything about Spencer yet, other than he's bald and he's driving. So Spencer, fire away. Give us about a minute or two of what you did in the service and what you're doing now, so we can get to know you a little better.
Sure. So I was a split ops trainee in the Army Reserves. So after my junior year of high school, I went to basic training, came back, finished my senior year of high school while in the reserves, and then did my MOS training in Fort Leonard Wood, or Fort Lost in the Woods, Missouri. I was a chemical operations specialist. And then after I was in the reserves and finished with my MOS training, I actually took a break and served a mission for our church for 2 years. They put me in IR status, which they weren't supposed to, but they did. Anyways, came back in the reserves. When I got back, had injured both of my shoulders and my ankle, and then the Army decided they didn't want me anymore. So got med boarded, but it's okay. It was honorable discharge. And then my buddy said, hey, how about working for a bank? And so I started off as a teller, worked my way up into the private banking space. A lot of my clients, were affluent, of course, and learned from them that they made money just basically off real estate. So about 6 or so years ago, helped create a few other companies in real estate and just went all in. And so for the past, like I said, about 6 years, it's been all in real estate, owned over about, 300 units, have raised capital, have done a variety of different things. Right now we're holding about 45, looking to grow that portfolio by about 100 more by the end of the year. Also run a lending division. I do VA loan seminars. I do everything to do with personal finance I can talk about. But yeah, it's been fun for the past, 20 years now in personal finance. And I've been married, wife, 2 girls, 3 dogs, and a cat. So we're a bit outnumbered pets wise, and live in the Atlanta, Georgia area and love the South.
Woo. Very cool. Very cool. Over to Courtney. Courtney, tell us about yourself.
So I joined at 19. I joined active. Thank you for your service. I forget your name, but thank you, Spencer. I joined at 19 because I literally got kicked out of my house. Me and my mom were constantly going at it. And, I just was I was just like a freaking stubborn ass kid. And I knew if I went to college, I'd get kicked out because all I wanted to do was party and travel and not take life seriously. So I decided to become a cop in the Navy, complete turnaround. And I was and my logic was oh, I need discipline. That's what I need. So I went in as military police, did 4 years. My first year, I was stationed in Washington State with the Marine Corps. So it was the infantry Marine. So I do a bunch of training with them, which is what I loved. I was so motard at that time. And then I went to Naples, Italy, and I was at the NATO base over there for the rest of my whole experience in the Navy. And then I met my husband there, and actually, unfortunately, we're going through a divorce right now. But yeah, so we have 3 kids together, 3 boys, and so that was my experience. I it was good, bad, and ugly. It was great.
Good stuff. Yeah, we'll dive deeper into all that stuff too. And since you guys don't know me, I'll introduce myself to you guys too. So I was enlisted in the late 90s in the Army infantry. I got med boarded too in 2000. And then I, 9/11 happened while I was in college, and I tried to get back in through a 18 X-ray program to go straight to Green Beret selection, stuff like that. I was denied because I had tattoos, and I didn't even have this monstrosity. Barely anything on there. So post 9/11, they wouldn't let me in because of tattoos to go to Green Beret. How crazy is that? So I was in Texas at the time, near Dallas, grew up on a cattle ranch. So I moved further south to Victoria, which is outside the Houston area, it's out in the middle of nowhere. So if you just go, where's the middle of nowhere, Texas? That's where it is.
I know where Victoria is.
Yeah, out in the middle of nowhere, right?
Yeah, it is.
But so I was there for a time, and I applied for. I found out that you could be a helicopter pilot without going to school. I thought you had to have a degree for that, and so I applied for a warrant officer position, and went to Houston. Went through the board, and they had like 10 people applying, 2 people being selected. So I was non-select, and they said, well, you can either board next month or just if you get denied next month, then you can't apply for another year. And I was like, well, that sounds stupid. So I'll just be in control. I like being in control of my own life. Maybe everybody else does too. So I said, well, fuck this. I'll just go down to the closest ROTC. And I did. I looked on Google or whatever at the time and found Corpus Christi, went down there, and that was one of the best moves ever. And a couple years later was selected to be, after commission, got selected to be a medevac pilot. And so I flew medevac missions, a couple hundred medevac missions over in Afghanistan during 09 and 10. That was my long tour. Did some awesome stuff over there. And like anything else, it's bittersweet. It's like, hey, we're saving the world. But then you go, but I'm not at my dinner table with my kids. Maybe I should give this up and go home. So hung up my spurs, got offered some awesome opportunities as I was getting out. But they were like, it was Army stuff. Hey, go get sent back over to be shot at more, or we're going to send you out to be a unicorn where you're never going to see your family. And I was like, oh, or I get out and I do what the fuck I want. So I got out at 10 years over a 16-year period. And here in Indiana, that's what brought me here, was my last duty station. And started networking and stuff like that. And then, like most people, going through a divorce. So now I'm remarried. We've got 5 kids from top to bottom, blended family. I've been through probably most of the shit that you don't want to be through. I've had all kinds of stuff happen. All the bad stuff happen. So it's like, oh, I think I'm going to be this gung-ho thing, and I'm going to do these things and wear a suit and tie and get paid millions of dollars and all this kind of crap. And then you find out reality is not so much. And felt like it. Yeah, right. Like felt like everybody else more alone than together. And then I just kept pushing forward. So that's all I do. I just keep pushing forward. So, and came across a company a couple years after being out, and I was at 90% and at the time, and I got up to 100% permanent total. Started helping those as a subcontractor, if you will, for another company, and then just started expanding. And over COVID, gained the clients that are out there, up to SEAL teams, Delta dudes, MARSOC, fighter pilots, 160th, NASA, anything that's out there, CIA, FBI, they're all my clients.
And well, thank you for doing that. I mean, someone needs an advocate.
I love doing it. I love doing it. And that's why I started the podcast too, is because I've done so much good for my veteran clients, but we've got every day less and less veterans. And although I don't talk about like suicide per se, I'm like, how can I help fulfill these guys and gals that are out there and get them going into, let them know that they've got support, that they're not alone, and they've got support, and they've got way fucking more positive options than the negative stuff of self-medicating and all that kind of stuff. So, because most people do it wrong anyway. But yeah, that's why I started this podcast, was to get out in front of you guys more, because the only thing that keeps me up at night or gives me heartburn is that I'm not able to help as much of you guys and put hands on you and arms around you that I can. Like in medevac, I'm only one guy. I can only fly one bird at a time, one mission at a time. So I'm trying to link arms with Spencer's and Courtney's out there who can go, wow, this is some good shit that Albert's doing, and the other people that are out there connected with him. Let's bring that more together. So that's why I've got multiple companies, the Fulfilled Veteran Network. We're starting another division of this podcast. If you've seen on Netflix, it's Jerry Seinfeld has Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, which I love. It's fun little show. And since I was a pilot, and I'm starting flight school again with a local company. I'm like, what if I did like, you always say that with a long title. So veteran, or let me see, it's pilots, mostly veterans around aircraft, getting into all kinds of shit. So we could like fly down to Nashville and check out the music scene, or go up to Bourbon Trail, or down
That's
to Tampa
awesome.
to see whatever, or all that kind of stuff. So just getting us around each other. That's what makes sense to us. Is us veterans, we just want to be around each other and know that we're not alone. But that's enough about me. I'm gonna start talking about some what the fuck stuff, because I'm glad that Spencer's in the money business, and that Courtney is a veteran, so she may not know this, but like when you get to the VA is the one who hides money behind a gate. I call it a gate. So like a gated community, that when you get to 100% like me, the gate opens up and there's all kinds of other money. So I'm a veteran money strategist. There's state level money for your kids in college. Do you guys know about that? Do you know what Chapter 35 is? Usual things like, oh, I know about GI Bill and maybe about burn pit, whatever. But you don't know what I know. And
You're right. I don't. I want to though.
everybody qualifies for, let's say, $500 more a month, even beyond. Like, I'll give you an example. Always reverse engineer. And what I mean by that is I'll look at your bank account and see, what are you getting paid? For example, I get paid $5,000 a month from the VA. Why? Why do I get that? I'm not retired. So what do I get? I've got so many kids, 5 kids, wife, that sort of thing. But I'm 100% permanent total, 100% for mental health by itself, and also a ton of human math. I say with all my clients, I want you to be over 500 human math points. So I'm at 480 right now, which is pretty fucking good, but I help my clients get over 500. And what that helps is what I call their base pay stay as it should be. And that's once you're 100% like I am, states like, just for example, Texas, California, and Florida, they don't pay property taxes anymore. And they're paying $1,000 a month right now. So imagine saving $1,000 a month over a 40-year lifespan. That's $500,000 right there. Isn't that insane? So the VA and the government tries to use words that don't make sense to you, like benefits. If I said millions of your dollars, you'd be like, you'd listen more. But if I just say benefits, you're like, I don't know what benefits means. So I'm going to tell you, millions of your dollars is on the table. And what happens is every year when you leave that money on the table, after that calendar year goes by, it's off the table and out somewhere over some fucking country you don't want it to be. So just want to let you know. What else I can tell you about that? Yeah, so property taxes is a big one. Most of us GWAT era folks are around, kids are in college age kind of a thing, right? So one of the most common financial boo-boos that veterans do is they don't have their family members depicted accurately with the VA. When you're in, it's with tiers. Are you getting paid for your kids? When you're out, it's with the VA. And I talked to a guy the other day, and I just had a quick conversation with him, and that saved him, put back in his pocket $13,000. Isn't that insane? $13,000 of back pay, by the way. Moving forwards is probably several $100s more a month. So just saying, retired folks qualify for $2,000 more a month than what they know about. And that's through their branch. So it's called CRSC, combat related special compensation, stuff like that. But getting back to college stuff. College stuff is like, I've got 5 kids. My oldest is heading into college, and I'm in Indiana now, not from here originally. But most states have a reduction or removal of the tuition and fees for your kids. So I'm not going to pay tuition and fees for my kids in college here in Indiana. Now that's state level. Federal level is Chapter 35. So due to my service and me being a 100% permanent total, when my kids are in college, I'll receive a stipend of about $1,400 per month per kid, as long as they're going full time. So I'm going to get paid for my kids to go to college. So that's why all my clients say to me, Albert, holy fucking shit, I wish I would have known you sooner, because of how fucking life-changing this is. Just today, I talked to a guy in his early 30s. One of my clients is 65, and he just got, on his birthday last week, he received $25,000 worth of back pay that I helped him receive. And he said, Albert, I'm 65 now. I don't want to look back on what I missed out on. I'm just happy to have what I've got and move it forwards. So just saying, no matter where you are in space and time and age, come see me. you are due a lot of your fucking money, and it is your money. The government tries to get you to believe bullshit of, oh well, that's you're taking away from Courtney and Spencer's pile. No, you're not. Absolutely, no, you're not. You can't take out of my pile. I can't get out of yours. So that's a bunch of bullshit. So I'm bringing that up because so much of that because Spencer's in the money business as well, and like I refinanced my house right a year or two ago as COVID was ending and that kind of thing, locked in a 2.3 rate, which is now unheard of. So, I mean, it's life changing. So it's insane. But now you guys know a little bit more about the money stuff. Now you understand why it's called What the Fuck VA. What do you guys think about what I've told you thus far?
Yeah, no, it's all amazing. In fact, I need help with my own stuff, right? The VA doesn't even have proof that I went to basic training, right? And that's where I got bronchitis for the first time in my life. And now every year since, I've had bronchitis at least once or twice, and a couple times pneumonia.
You know what's
And
crazy about that? It's like some of the terms you're using are about healthcare. Like, let's say left knee surgery. Left knee surgery is like HIPAA secure, HIPAA compliant. You don't have to tell the government about it for a claim. That's healthcare. Take care of yourself. Now, claim means money. Was your left knee with you during service? Yes. So a doctor would do a write up. I, Dr. Whitecoat, agree that you during your service, your left knee was with you, and you hand that to the government. I call it your packet. This is fake, by the way, but it's a packet. So you hand your packet to the VA with the compliant terminology and all the reference material the government wants compliantly, and boom, you get service connected, then you get increased, all that stuff. So I help my folks through that. But yeah, the government hid it behind. It should be the reason why this big check is behind me, by the way. My belief is when veterans get out of the service, they should receive a big fucking crazy check like that and go, hey, here's the millions of dollars of life-changing money that you qualify for, that you earned through your service. Get the fuck out of here. be good and do good things. So that's what it should be, but it isn't. I don't want to be where I am right now. I don't want to have to tell you guys the hard story, the hard truth that that's your check right there, but the government is hiding it from you in multiple different ways. So, but once you know, you can't fucking unhear it. And when I show you the pay chart, you'll be like, what? Let me give you an example since I'm talking about the pay chart. Your buddies out there are saying things like, oh, I'm good at 70, I'm good at 60 or 30 or 90. What they don't know is, like I say, ignorance is bliss. When you go from 90 to 100 by itself, that is a $1,500 a month raise per month. And that's basic family of 4. That is a 38% raise in funds. Courtney, can you go to your boss right now and say, I want a 38% raise or else I'm fucking out of here?
No, I
They'll
mean,
be
maybe
like,
with the staffing shortages. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, they'll be like, we'll grease the door for you. Get the fuck out of here. So, but yeah, it's a 38% raise. And that's just the beginning. You're at the gate now. The doors open up. There's so much more money out there. So it's gross. I hate to tell you, but it's so fucking gross that that's how the government does. But that's why I'm bringing it up is if you don't know, ignorance is bliss. So now you know. So just letting you know that. Courtney, what else you think on now you know a little bit more about what the fuck VA?
Honestly, I have to piggyback onto your everything you've said. I actually am 100% P&T as well, but it took
Nice.
me, I feel like as a female, it took me a lot longer because I kept getting denied, and like it was very clear I had PTSD. It was very obvious. Whenever they had me tell my story, I would just go back like I was there, and my reactions to everything, and it was just I feel like I'm not saying like, listen, I'm the farthest from lefty you can ever think of, but I'm just saying like I felt a little bit biased against females, but that's okay because we're used to that shit, right? So you just have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, keep going back, find a lawyer that will back you. All you have to do is cut out a little bit of percentage of your back pay once you get to 100%. And once you get there, it's so worth it. I mean, especially with the property taxes and like, I mean, it gave me the ability to get out of a really shitty situation I was in. It gave me the financial security to get out of the terrible, terrible situation I was in, the relationship I was in. So I freaking thank God for that every day.
No, that's good stuff. And the good news is too, they don't even have to go to a lawyer. That's what's crazy. It's actually easier if you do, like what you're talking about is what I call fighting the VA. You're telling the VA they got it wrong. Beating the VA is way simpler, and that's just through medical evidence. And it shouldn't be that at all. But we know the government is not going to change probably in the next 5 or 10 years. And the point of this conversation too is to talk about, like, should we have the FBI? No, they suck. should we have the IRS doing certain things? No, they suck. Should we, federal government, I keep my ear to the ground I watch Dan Bongino almost every day. Tim Pool is always somewhere in the ear, but
Nice.
those are my main go-tos. I got others, but like even just watching the Congress have like meetings and stuff like that, they'll have like a not meeting, but like have somebody from, I'll say, oh gosh, what am I looking for? The Secretary of Education. I don't know if you guys saw this about a few short weeks ago, but the Secretary of Education was in front of Congress or saying something about he was in front of Congress where like you can't lie, right? So you can't lie. It's illegal to lie to Congress. And he says something like, well, like President Reagan said, we're from the government here to help. And do you guys not know the premise of that actual quote? The actual quote says the worst words ever, worst 11 words or whatever the fuck it is, 9 words is I'm from the government. We're here to help. That guy had no idea. And he's the Secretary of fucking, come on. Secretary of
I
Education.
feel like none of those people have any fucking idea. Like most of the time, and I feel like that's why, like, personally, I want people that were veterans to get in office because they get it. They know how the system works. Like they understand people. That's the one thing veterans all have in common is that, we were all in uniform together, black, white, green, and yellow. And it was like, we just got along. We were all fucking equally sucking. We all had to scrub the floors. We all had to go shoot. We all had to go live that life together. And it's like this sense of camaraderie with your fellow American.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about last week too, is I used to play a game of like when I was younger, junior high and stuff. I was born in 1980. So, what's 10 years from now going to look like? And we'll talk more about that as we keep chatting. But that was one of the main topics was that I like to see that there's a lot more veterans that are getting into, if you want to be the change, be the change, right? I think Dan Bongino mentions that quite often. It's not his quote. He'll say it more correctly and accurately than I do, but he says that. He says, be the change that you want. That you are the change you've been looking for. And you just have to have those conversations and do those right things. Be on a school board at a minimum. Start a podcast, get information out there because information is key. Be, know, and do. If you don't know, you're not going to be anything. So, and not be able to do anything. So you have to, knowledge is power. So,
Definitely.
and I think that's what I like about us veterans is that we have the capability of being violent, but we don't want to be. We've had I don't call it luxury, but we've had the experience of seeing what combat does to people, the villages that we've been around and through and all that kind of stuff. And we don't want that here. And thankfully we're the contiguous US. We've got great states, used to, where the borders were closed, which we'll talk about that today too. Talk about some fresh stuff, fresh news, and see what everybody's thoughts are on that. But yeah, I think a lot of us are more like bees. We want to be helpful. We want to be part of the community that we're in, and it could be the female veteran group. It could be black group, white group, yellow group, whatever. But like coming together, knowing okay, we're still American because that's what America is, and we have to have borders. We have to have people with guns, good guys with guns. And you're going to hear me talk about superheroes a lot today because the government wants you to believe that you're somehow a super villain because you have the ability to shoot people in the face. But then you're like, well, no, I am a superhero and I use my powers for good. And so, but that's what's crazy about conservatives is that conservatives will just say, in essence, in their own head, no, like if I walked up to Spencer and said, hey, you got blue hair, you don't have blue hair, and you're gonna that from your heart and soul, and you don't feel offended by it. And so that's how it is, or it should be, with if somebody says something that has nothing to do with you, and trust me, I've got an ex-wife, I know what that feels like. So when somebody says something that has absolutely no factual accuracy at fucking all, or nor does it have anything to do with the good of your kitchen or your household or the globe, then you just say, man, fuck you. Because what they've already done is they've identified themselves as being an evil person. And you don't need to be around evil people. So as soon as I see somebody who's got evil in them at that level, like if there's biblically good and biblically bad. And somebody said to me once, well, is there a way that somebody could do a little bad but still be good? And I'm like,
No, I don't think so.
I don't believe so. I mean, you can still be a sinner and repent. I mean, but that's for God to figure out. Me, I don't want you probably in my stable. Am I going to have you like, would I want Joe Biden to drive my school bus for my kids? Fuck no. Would I want most politicians to drive the bus of my kids? Probably not. So why the fuck are we having them in charge of all the things, and then somehow when it goes wrong, there's no fucking accountability. There's nobody gets, and this is continued for years and decades and thousands of years, that the haves and have-nots and the people who are shaking the jar, because we're all in the jar. Somebody's out there shaking that fucking jar. Who's shaking it? Somebody big. It's not us. So, but anyhow, we'll circle back to that. What are you guys' thoughts on what I've said thus far?
Spot on, man. I mean, it's crazy how these people who, a lot of them never even had a real job in their life, yet they feel like they can tell all of us what's best for us. And it's messed up. It all needs to change.
So I think, again, circling back to my whole opinion of, I think people who have choices should have been veterans. I think everyone, I don't know. I just think that, like, it's like the same argument as to, people that have opinions about children should be parents. Like, same for the country and the way things are ran. That's why, like, I have my own personal beliefs that I think, Donald Trump should be president, because it's like, I mean, he's like just a businessman, and America's a business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really what it comes. That's my opinion.
Yeah. And I like that too, because when I talk to people about, if somebody says, hey, I want to start a nonprofit, I always tell them, go join one first. Go join one. Go, even if it's in the same vein, veteran homelessness or whatever, or whatever, women's anything, that's fine. Go join one and just start out and see what it's like. Because one, you're going to get experience that you definitely need. But most people, even though they have a heart for it, they may not have that skill set for it. So I'll give you an example. I had 2 ladies work for me that did not last long because they were such big hearts that they cried all the time. Because we work with we make things look easy, but it's very difficult. You're dealing with the government and illness and ailment and pain and all the feelings and betrayal mostly. And it hurts. It's hard. And so that's why I say that my staff are a bunch of honey badgers, and they're meaner than I am, because they're behind the scenes and they're having to, in writing, answer responses to emails and stuff like that from my clients. And it's tough. It's tough. So these 2 ladies, they both had to go. And I said, hey, I appreciate your heart, but like, I need a killer, and I've got killers. So, but yeah, it's tough. So, and I'll bring that back to your point, Courtney, of like, it is a business. Like, how can you have to have accountability. You have to have the ecosystem. You have to have flies. You have to have bees. You have to have people sweeping, garbage and stuff like this. You have to have pickup. You have to have churches. You have to have things that pull people in together in their soul, but you also have to have fucking monsters who can guard that wall and say, fuck no, we're going to fly an F-16 right up your fucking ass if you even think of farting in our general direction and whatever. So, but like, I mean, we're a superpower. Even I think it was one of the podcast guys I was listening to yesterday said, look at America. Over the history of the globe, America in just a very short fucking period of time was one of the few superpowers, became a few superpower. And that was after a financial destruction in the 30s and stuff like that, right? So we came out of that and became a superpower within a few decades. And then now we're like the only main superpower.
Yeah, and I kind of think about it sometimes. It's like, the fall of Rome was what, like 300? I don't know. It was some crazy number, but we're coming up on that number. Like, America is getting in the 200. What is it like? How old
Mhm.
is America? Somebody is smarter than me out there who
Yeah.
knows the answer
We're
to
heading
that.
on
But
300. Yeah. We're heading on
yeah, that's
300.
about the time that things start going. If you look at history and how things play out, for empires.
Well, that brings me to like, how do you grow people? So I was a coach for a long time and uh, elite level gymnast and tumbling and stuff like that. So you have to have great foundations, and that starts young. So a topic that I want to bring up is, you know, the local stuff. How do we get, rather than saying a big change for America could be, rather than having a draft. I don't think a draft ever is going to work. That just isn't right for America's way of life and America's soul, if I can say it that way. The soul of America doesn't need a draft, but I think the soul of America does need service first. Like, it could be, whatever, in your church, or it could be in your local hospital or clinics, or teach kids to swim. My next door neighbor, she swims for the high school team, and then she'll teach kids to swim at the local, they call it lily pads or something like that. It's so cute. It's like, it's a local gym, but they just go, okay, it's lily pad time, and my girls go there for swim lessons. So it's like, that's what we need, is more. I don't think people need to all be in the military, because there's very few of us that need to do the shit that we've done, but we do need to have more of the community knowing what it's like to get off your ass and stop playing fucking video games and get out there and see real people and make a real difference.
Agreed.
What are you guys' thoughts on that?
So I think that we should go back. So, like, I was born in 1991. So yeah, I know I was in a crazy relationship. So that's why the age. But yeah, I think we should go back to the whole like a verb thing. You remember back in the 90s, the campaign about like verb, it's what you do, get out and
Oh yeah,
play. I
yeah.
think we need to get back to something like that, just promoting outside play, promoting quit being scared of life. Just get out, play, climb a tree.
We're back from a little bit of a quick bio break. So back to it. Spencer's now in his house. So we're talking about, before Spence was transitioning there, we're talking about how do we get America quickly to service, not like in service to do military service, but how to do more in the church, and that let's say before you get, I don't say complete high school, but like maybe something like that, that you have like a internship or apprenticeship of out there doing something in the world. Because again, I grew up on a cattle ranch in Texas, so we had all kinds of those good old days where we had wood shop and welding. I mean, there's tons of money to be made, and like it gets me every time. You guys probably do this too. When you look at a box from Amazon or something and it says made in China, and you're just like, motherfucker. Like, there's so many. Doesn't that just God damn it, doesn't just blow your mind?
Oh, it pisses me off to all hell. And it didn't used to piss me off, because at least the shit made in China was like cheap. They would charge you like $3, but now with inflation, the shit made in China is just as expensive as like the American made shit. And it's just like, American made quality, you can't beat it. But now you're paying American prices for Chinese products.
Yep.
Well, so Spence, you know a lot about, or at least more about money. You focus on it every day. What do you think about like the inflation? Like, how do we get out of where we are right now with the government putting us into this fucking corner?
Well, it's funny because the government is sitting here blaming basically everybody else but themselves. When I think the stem cause of it was them printing money and them not holding themselves accountable to an actual true budget. Every time they run out of money, what do? They just print more money, raise the debt ceiling. And that's not we don't have that ability, right? I can be like, oh, I don't have enough money this month to buy groceries. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to add more money to my bank account, right? They're the only ones that can do that. Yet we're the ones responsible for telling them how much we owe them every year. And if we're wrong, we could potentially go to jail, right? Or at least be penalized.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, the whole system is flawed, in my opinion. I think that we're a far cry from where we were meant to be when this country first got started. I think we let a lot of people take the reins. It's like, you ever been a part of a group project
and that you just didn't really care about your grade, and you sort of let some other kids take the reins of it, and you just sat back and played video games. I think we all did that. I think that's what's happened to this country, right? Where a lot of us in the past were just so busy just doing everything else, our parents and people before us, and they just weren't interested in being in politics. And so they let others do it. And then you get people who, like Bernie, who has never had a real job in his life, and that are telling us what's best for us. And people that, in my opinion, no offense to the elderly out there, but I think there should be an age limit, right? Once you reach a certain age, you're done. Like you're forced to retire. They do that at government, like in the military. There's a certain age, you age out. Why do you have politicians that don't age out? I just don't get it. I think a lot of grandkids need to come get their grandparents out of politics. And that would solve a lot of problems. I think that we should go personally to a flat tax, 10%, abolish the IRS. We all pay 10% no matter what you make. Companies, it's fair, it's equitable. You make more money, you pay more. You don't have to pay a higher percentage because you make more. How is that fair that I'm taxed at a higher percentage just because I work harder? You know what I mean? I think, what was I at last year? 38%, right? And yet I had colleagues that were, I remember when I was a banker, I had this one teller, she turned down a $2 an hour pay raise and said, hey, I only want $1 because if I get that extra $1, I'll make too much money and won't qualify for all these benefits that I get. And she also didn't marry her baby daddy. And she purposely didn't work, for extra money because she was going to lose all that benefit. Our country is currently in a state where it's designed to support people who put in less effort. And it's unfortunate. So there's a lot of things I would change, and I'm at a point where I'm, trying to make a life comfortable for my family. But once the money's there, who knows, maybe I'll get into politics a bit. I'm, involved in local government here. I think, like you said, more people should be involved in their local governments, even if it's just sitting on a board of a school. That's where I first got involved. I sat on a board in a charter school in Colorado. Realized that I don't mind, the limelighter, as people call it, being the bad guy who has to make the tough decisions, because I believe what I'm doing is right. So, yeah, 100% agree. Things got to change.
I agree with you. I mean, it's just insane how people, my son, for example, like when we had just, my husband and I, because he got out in 2016, I got out in 2014. We got out with two young sons, and my husband got a job working with my uncle, and my son needed a procedure done, so we took him down to Texas Children's down in downtown Houston. And I see this other family who, like, you could just tell that they are unkept. They're just unwell, and they just get right on in there. And they told me I couldn't go because my deductible was like $3,000. So it was insane. And my ex-husband had to end up quitting that job and going and working for another company, a corporate company who had better benefits because of that, which really sucked.
Yeah, insurance has been jacked ever since Obamacare, even worse. I mean, it wasn't perfect to begin with, but I remember, our first kid, I paid like nothing when my wife gave birth, right? And then the second kid came, ended up paying at least like $5,000 out of pocket. And now I don't even, with the mortgage company we're with, I don't even go with their benefits. It's because it would be almost $3,000 a month just in cost to insure my whole family for full coverage.
That's crazy.
So I buy private insurance now, and it's still about $1,500 a month I'm paying. And it's not even full coverage. It's like their pre-negotiated plan or whatever it's called. So yeah, the whole system is flawed. And, insurance, taxes, all of it, it's all just messed up. Money's going to the wrong people.
Spencer, can I cut you off real quick? I just have something to say to piggyback on top of that. Like I was stationed in Italy, and I had my second son in Italy, but socialized healthcare was no better. I mean, over there, because we although we were a military base, we fell under their jurisdiction. So I wasn't given lots of pain medication after I had my son. The locals over in Italy complained that if they needed, if they had a broken leg, they'd be on a wait list for for weeks, months. And it's like, when you compare and contrast the two systems, I would personally rather pay that $3,000 for a private system. Although yes, that's expensive, at least the option's there, because places like Italy and those socialized countries don't have that option, period. They only have the socialized.
If it was truly a private insurance system, we would be fine. The problem is the government stepped in and forced them to do a lot of stuff that doesn't make financial sense, right? And so that's in my opinion one of the biggest issues is, my wife and I are done having children, yet we still have to have maternity coverage, right, and things like that, stuff that we don't even need, we have to pay for. And now people who don't make enough get free insurance, and they get all the same coverage or even better than what I can get by paying $1,500 a month, right? I mean, if it wasn't for the risk of, one of us getting cancer and paying millions of dollars for health insurance, for expenses, I wouldn't even pay for health insurance. I just pay out of pocket, right? But it's that potential risk that says, all right, pay the $1,500 just in case something major happens. But, it's not like a car where, all right, worst case scenario, I just need a new car. If I don't have like a warranty on it. But so, yeah, that's, I think, what caused the biggest issue is, I'm not saying it was perfect. And I know insurance companies, pharmaceuticals make a bunch of money, but it was better than what it is now. I'll tell you that. At least for me and my family personally. I know there's some families that have benefited from the changes, but
I think we should all be like the Bible said, have abundance too. So we shouldn't even be in this like scraping to get along and barely get your eyes over the horizon. I know you may not want 100 years from now for your kids to have like a whole spread of Ponderosa, this is where I live and all this kind of stuff, but at least you want something. Like, fucking hell, man. It shouldn't be life. I think we could agree that it shouldn't be this so separated from the haves and have-nots. And I like watching some shows like Billions and Succession and stuff like that, and you see these folks out there who have, even during COVID, we have now more billionaires than ever because of COVID. And like Bongino says, right, you follow the money and you're like, yeah, this is pretty fucking sketch of like how much there. I used to go to a lot of conventions with aviation, like Heli Expo, largest helicopter expo in the world and stuff. And it's still the old school fuck you level money. It's hot girls walking around in crazy stuff and Italian suits and Saudi whomevers and all their shit. And there's so much fucking money out there. There's so much money. Why the fuck are we getting crumbs? And why does a NFL player get millions of dollars for a couple of years of getting their ass kicked when they get their big check as they're playing, but yet the best of us get kicked in the fucking teeth? I think it's all just go with me on this, not a conspiracy theorist, but we have lesser veterans. Why do we have less veterans? Because they're medicating themselves, self-medicating, doing a bad job of that. They're depressed, they're sad, they're all the feelings, betrayed, because they are fucking betrayed. They're betrayed by their government. And like I'll give you an example. I've got two examples. I'll give you my Green Beret story and my fighter pilot story. So my Green Beret said he got 30% for mental health. Now he was PTSD related to combat. That was his initial rating when he came to me. And he said, Albert, he's a retired Green Beret. I didn't mention that. So retired Green Beret. So he said, yeah, I knew Uncle Sam was fucking me. I just didn't know he was dry fucking me. Getting 30% for mental health. And then my fighter pilot, he's a 40-something-year-old fighter pilot, and he did all the way up to 06. And he said, Albert, great briefing, love your stuff, man, but I'm not cussing at you, I'm cussing at the situation. I cannot fucking believe that the government is taking all this money from me and all my military brothers and sisters out there. And if it's this hard for Green Berets and 160th and fighter pilots, Joe Average is just fucking flapping in the wind. They're definitely lost. So it's insane. We as service members serve, and our government is betraying us. And I was enlisted and officer, and so we, as an officer, raise our hand to the Constitution, not to a person. So it's like, and the American dream is that's what's great about us. We are the American dream. We're here to support that, and we're able to be violent to protect it. And now we're just fucking backed into a corner. And so now let's pivot and talk about Texas, because holy fucking shit, Texas. I grew up there. I've got plenty of guns, NRA member, all that kind of stuff. I went to the NRA convention was in Indianapolis earlier this year. And I don't know if you've ever seen 14 acres of guns and positively rednecks, but like, holy fucking shit. Nobody's coming into our country and fucking with us. We are to the fucking gills stocked up. So for you people out there who think that you're going to cross the border and come in here and fart in our direction, you're going to get shot in the fucking face. So, but it's super crazy that now you got a legit fucking Mexican standoff at the Mexican border. Like I said, I went to university in Corpus Christi, so not too far from there. And you've legit got fucking people with guns and other people crossing with bad intentions. So you got this like, I'm the FBI, I'm the DEA, I'm Border Patrol, and you're all just fucking pointing at each other. So I like that. And then you got this happened since last week, but we had the fucking Supreme Court who 5-4 said that Biden is okay to do, in essence, whatever. Somebody misquoted it and said like the Supreme Court ordered somebody to cut the fence. I don't think the court can order something like that, but I guess they gave the government permission to cut the fence. And then even the state guys are going, well, you cut any fence, we're going to put up more. So what do you guys think about this? Where does it go from here?
Well, I haven't been following that story very closely, but my personal opinion on the borders is if you don't file the right paperwork to get in this country, and like my wife's from the Philippines, right? I met her when I was on my mission. We just, after my mission, we started emailing, got serious. The paperwork that I had to fill out, the fees I had to pay to get her here was ridiculous. This was while I was still in the reserves, right? So anybody just trying to hop the border, I have no sympathy for. Fill up, stop, maybe we make more centers where they can stop on the outside of the border to fill out paperwork, right? Because maybe they don't have access to technology or whatever. So I can sympathize to that. But to just let them in, no, that's not how we should roll. And the state has the right to say no. It's their state. The federal government wants to let them into DC. Figure out a way to do that, but go for it. But to tell Texas, no, you have to let them into your state. I think the federal government's overstepping their powers.
Courtney's in Houston. What do you think?
I think lots of things. But so just to rewind it a little bit and talk about what you were talking about earlier when you said, Albert, that people are like medicated now, they have mental health issues, that's why they're not joining the military and stuff like that. My advice to people like that is to it's not technically lying, but just don't say anything. You don't need to go tell your recruiter this, that, and the third about your life story and all of, the time you cried in the corner back when mom pissed you off. You don't need to tell them that. Go in there, tell them you want to serve your damn country, you don't have a criminal record, and just shut up and join. That's opinion from Courtney. But back to the border, I will say that I agree with Governor Abbott. Fuck that. No, we're not going to let them come into our state and just because that's what they're trying to do. I don't know the details of what the hell the Biden administration is trying to do, but there is just a coincidence that he gets in office and now it's swarming like it's never been swarmed before. This all seems like it's calculated in a sense. And we have luckily.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, say that again?
But it's almost like they want more voters.
Yeah, it's almost like they want more voters, exactly. And so luckily we still have men over here in Texas. I mean, also the veterans everywhere in America, but here in Texas, people aren't going to stand for that shit, We pride ourselves from being from Texas. I mean, there's a reason we say the Texas Pledge growing up in public schools here. Mm-hmm. Like, we are built to love this state. And that doesn't matter. That goes past color. That goes past creed. I mean, if you're Texan and you're a Muslim, you're still a freaking Texan. If you're Texan and you're Christian, you're still a freaking Texan. And we have that camaraderie here. And they know that.
I was going to circle back to the mental health thing with these kids. I don't know if it's because the parents are too soft lately, or they're just not getting enough discipline. Those participation trophies ruined them. I just my girls so far have been fine. I'm knock on wood. I do believe there's true mental sickness. I've seen it firsthand. I'm not saying everything out there is fake, but I think a lot of these kids that have these issues, it's due to a lack of discipline. Mommy, daddy sitting there coddling them. I literally have friends that have said that they will never discipline their children because they felt their parents disciplined too much.
Oh my God.
We are designed to be disciplined.
Let's talk about the cat uniforms. I think it was in Texas, speaking of, that all these kids, Oklahoma. So in Oklahoma, there was all these kids that were showing up. It was so many kids showing up with like cat ears on and pretending to be cats. And the parents were even getting involved saying, oh, they need to have cat litter boxes in the back of the classroom. It became such a problem that there was like a senator or governor or somebody that put into some legislator who put into law that, hey, if you're bringing your kid /cat to school kind of thing and dropping them off and expecting them to be treated like, you have to pick a lane. If you want them, you're dropping them off at a school, okay, where children are. So it's not a fucking zoo or petting zoo or whatever, or pet care. So if you're dropping your kid off, you have to either the kid is going to be, they're going to call the school can call the, like Humane Society or some shit like that, the pet control to come out there and get them. Because
that'd be awesome.
Like I've got 5 kids, all right, from 7 to 17. When I teach my kids something, I try to teach them about 2 years ahead of themselves. Load the dishwasher, sharp stuff. Watch out for that first. You're going to mow the yard here in the next couple of years or 2, or rake leaves, whatever. Ride a bike this way. You're going to ride a bike and you're going to learn how to be able to go on roller coasters and then be able to drive a car or whatever. And just stretch them a little bit further of here's what's happening next. And it's shocking how many people just like, I can tell that I had a dad and a mom. And the statistics that are out now, if they're me being through my divorce and all that kind of stuff and horrible ex-wife and all that kind of stuff, and just the absorbing of all the information that I gathered over the past decade on that, of just kids need dads regardless. You don't have to be married. You don't have to take him for all he's fucking worth, but the kids need dads. They need dads more than they need moms. That is statistically fucking accurate. And that's why there's too many fucking cats in the classroom right now. And so I'm a big father's rights advocate, or just fucking family. I mean, they need moms. They need that tender. I'm not a motherfucking tender dude. All right. So I'll put
as a mother, can I comment on that?
Yeah, fire away, definitely.
I have to say, I agree with you. I mean, like my my ex-husband and I, we had our differences, and like he has NPD, but he's still the father of my 3 sons, and I acknowledge that. So I let him take the kids whenever he wants to, even though I know that, I don't know, I'm gonna be okay with like his future wife, his future, like I'm okay, I'm at peace with the fact that he's gonna move on, the fact I'm gonna move on, and the fact that like that us together was toxic. It's just he's not a toxic person and I'm not a toxic person, but together we're a volcano. So it just like, and I agree with you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, 2 chemicals that shouldn't mix, right?
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
you can still be adults and raise your kids. I think kids do need a mother and a father. It's important. We each bring different things to the table. Like you, I'm the strict one, right? I lay down the law, but they can push mom, and if they push mom too far, they'll regret it too, right? So, but she's more of the nurturing, spiritual minded. I'm more of the, teach you how to get crap done, and if you don't listen, there's consequences kind of guy. And it's funny, my wife didn't even know I knew how to yell until we had children.
Yeah.
I've never raised my voice at her ever in our entire marriage. I've been married almost 20 years now. But
and you only have girls too, right? You said
2 girls, and I don't really like lose it. I just go in what I call military mode.
Girls are quiet. So like, oh God, what comedian talked about that? Where you walk into a room, it's like you have a play date or something, and the girls will go straight over to the kitchen counter, and they got their coloring books, and they'll be doing that for hours or whatever. And then you come back in the room, and they're still there. And then you go, okay, where's the boy? Start looking up. He's on something. He's on the roof.
You guys
That's
are
really-
made differently. I don't know what
Yeah.
God put in y'all, but I have 3 sons, 3,
Oh
and
man, that's nice.
it never ends. Just the constant movement, the constant noise. It's never ending.
Yeah, I'm still doing it. I cannot sit down. I walk in my house every day, like 7 miles. So it's so I don't sit still. It's bizarre, but
I believe it.
My mom always told me, growing up, she's like, I thought you were either going to kill yourself from all the stupid stuff you did, be in prison, or be a really great man. I'm like, okay, well,
yeah.
I think
I guess you got to shoot for number 3.
I was a bit of a pyro growing up. I mean, I caught our house on fire a couple of times. It was my dad reloaded his own bullet, so I had access to gunpowder. Which why would you let a kid like that's just asking for it? So I got good at realizing what can burn me. I have only a few.
Is that why you don't have hair?
I know. But no, boys are just a whole nother level, which I'm glad with my genes that we ended up just having daughters. I grew up with 4 older sisters and 1 older brother, but it's closer to my sisters in age. So, girls I can handle all day long. Boys, I don't know, man. I'd probably end up sending them to like a boarding school or something. Just lose it.
You just understand, yeah. I understand why they go to boarding in military school at age 5.
Heartbeat, I'd be like, yeah, you're out, go. Just come
go shoot stuff. Go blow things up. But that's what? Actually, that brings up a great point, though. That now there are studies out there that even, let's say, so I was before the medical, let's medicate everybody kind of a lifestyle. So, but I probably would have been medicated. So for ADD and shit. But what they're finding out now is that people, especially boys who are like labeled ADD and wigglers in classroom, they excel in outdoor activities.
Mm-hmm.
So get them outdoors, get their feet in the fucking dirt, and they'll lead somebody through the woods or hunting or barbecuing or something like that.
As a female, I like all those things too, and it's like I don't understand why it's like people can't just accept the fact that like a woman likes to do that and also likes dudes. Like people are like, oh, she must be a lesbian if she likes to work out and likes to, obviously not recently, but I'm getting back into it since the divorce. But it's like, oh, since you like to shoot guns for recreational activity, you must be gay. It's like, no, like I like to fucking pop some caps. What's wrong with that?
No, I agree 100%. I've been taking my girls to the gun range since they're young. My oldest goes hunting with me. She'll sit in a blind with me, 4:00 in the morning, and we'll just sit there, and it's great. It's great bonding time.
Yeah, I love that for
myself,
you and your daughter.
But on the other side, like I like going to Broadway shows with my girls in New York. I think guys can enjoy with feminine stuff too, and not
definitely
be considered gay. So, and it's funny if there's like a sad movie, I'm the first one to tear up, and they always laugh at me. It's kind of embarrassing. It just that's the way I'm built.
Get to that point, huh? Get to that point of heartstrings.
Yeah. So, but
the lone survivor stuff at the end when they show like the real people, and I'm like, oh my god, it blows my shit. So.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah,
I can't handle that. It's like me when I listen to country music, like the old country songs from the 90s. Oh my god, I'll start like bawling in my car. I don't know if that's a Texas thing or what.
Strawberry wine or whatever.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So that song, Don't Laugh at Me.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Don't Take the Girl. Oh, what was that one?
Yeah. That's another one.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yep.
It's funny how you watch these movies now, like the movies that maybe you watched as a kid or growing up, and in the movie you were the kid. Now in the movie you're the parent, and you're like, oh my god, man.
Yes, they need to feed him more.
Yeah, it's so funny. See, this is what veterans need more of. It's all the good stuff.
Stuff. I tried to explain it to my girls. Like, they're like, "Well, Dad, why do you hang around veterans so much?" I said, "Because honestly, civilians are annoying, and you just want to punch them in the head, and you're not allowed to."
Yeah.
But literally, I could punch one of my buddies, and he'd hit me back. And it's so it's like even though I was never deployed, I was just in the reserves. The fact that it was basic in the MOS school for that just that time, it changes who you are.
You have enough time to brainwash. That's the time in boot camp and A school. Like, that's the brainwashing time to bond, like that trauma bond you have with everyone else.
Walking through, getting all those shots on each side at MEPS. And I don't know what's in there, but I'll just tell you, I didn't stop growing until I was like 25. And, my feet luckily stopped at a size 13, but I'm bigger than everybody in my family. And I'm like, all right, I think they put something there. Like, I'm considerably larger than my dad and my brother by almost 100 pounds. And I'm not like fat. I'm just thick, I was a little fat. I'm 6'2" and about 280. I got up to like 330 now. I was fat then, but I've been working out. Just structurally different. And so I don't know. I think they gave me some growth hormone or something there, but I don't mind,
So, I'm still short, so I'm 5'6".
That's when you were a pilot, an officer. You didn't get the same shot.
Y'all had to guess.
I was enlisted first.
Oh, that's true.
I got all the weird shots, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, go get in that line."
Did y'all get the COVID shot?
Oh yeah, we had to for traveling.
That sucks.
Yeah, we travel a bit, and I had to get the shot, the second, and the booster, and I remember we went to, where was it? New York, during the midst of it, right? Where Georgia had opened up because we're like, hey, this is stupid, right? And so went up to New York, and every restaurant we went into, they had to scan our little code thing that said we had been vaccinated.
That was a real thing that actually happened?
Every single restaurant, store. Oh, it was hilarious. We went and saw a Broadway show. I think it was Phantom at the time. So they scanned us to get in, right? And then what did they do? They had us all like jam-packed next to each other waiting for the doors to open. I'm like, if you truly think it's an issue, that's the dumbest thing you can do.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, it was hilarious. My girls are like, this is
like that circular of like, if you say you're going to do it, do it. And if you say, like, if you believe it, that's fine. If you believe it, that's fine. But act on it. Don't just be like that. Oh God, there's so many pictures of people doing that kind of stuff. Of, I am so-and-so, squirt, squirt, squirt. Take the mask off. Blah, 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 blah. Put the mask back on. Squirt, squirt, squirt. Like, get the fuck away from the microphone. You're such, and then they get off, or as they're getting off stage, take the mask off. Like, you fucking piece of shit. So, I mean, stand by your people. Americans will stand with you if you stand by your fucking convictions. But the hypocrisy is where we just go, what the fuck? Going back to leaving $85 billion worth of our equipment in Afghanistan.
Yeah, that was so crazy when that happened. I was like, why can't people see through this?
That was not. I heard about that from some buddies. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, can I go there and get some? Is that no?
It brings me to like an emotional 9/11. It's like an emotional 9/11.
Yeah.
We all were like, okay, something's going, because it was in August, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? What's happening? Things are breaking bad, but it was a complete. I mean, I was in infantry first and went through a lot of leadership stuff, 7-8, close with and destroy the enemy. And I think it was Obama who said about Biden that he is the guy that does everything wrong. He did everything wrong. So leaving all our shit over there, no accountability, no going back and getting our shit. Nobody's been held accountable since. Nobody mentions it. How do we move forwards as a nation, or how do we even hear from anybody, take them seriously when there's no accountability?
Well, it's crazy. If they had at least sold that stuff to whoever, all the good they could have done with that money. I mean, you could end homelessness in America with that much money.
All right.
Like, it's ridiculous. I just don't get it.
It's like Oprah. Like, you can take backpacks to Africa, but you can't go to. She talks about being grown up in a cabin. I believe you, but go spread some of that wealth around. Like, if you why do you as a billionaire get to tell me what to do with my tens of dollars in the bank account? So
yeah, it's not fair that they even past the money, like the fact that the war just straight flipped and turned around and happened in the same area with this, like, it blows my mind how that all of this happened. It's like so many lives are being lost. So many lives are being freaking lost right now, and it's just really sad. And you see them all on X, like you see them all on like Instagram. I mean, the videos are there of just like the death and destruction, and it's just awful. Like, I don't know, it hurts my heart, honestly, for humanity when I see stuff like that.
Yeah, like, just I always tell my girls it's good to be rich but not famous, right? You know, work hard, make a bunch of money, but don't try to be famous, because it's usually the fame that destroys people, right? They get it in their head that they know better than everyone else. They get their little yes men surrounding them, and they just get stupid, in my opinion. And they lose touch with reality. But I think we're coming to a point in this country that I'm going to have to start running for politics if we're going to get the change that we want. You know, guys like us and girls, and we're going to have to step up. We don't, like I said, like that class project, somebody's not doing what they need to do. We're going to have to step up and take it over before we, you know, get an F on it. You know, it's crazy. So still got at least, I don't know, 10 more years or so before I can retire. But that's my plan is, you know, maybe when I retire, I'll get into it. My wife really doesn't want me to get into politics, mainly because I always say what I think. So, which I think we should have more of. You know, with me, there's no guessing what I'm thinking or where my values are. But I do respect what people do of their own volition in their own home. If they're not hurting anybody, I don't care. You want to dress up like a cat in your own house and pee in a litter box? Go for it. You know what I mean? But don't tell me that I have to let your kid in the school and say no is an answer to a test or a question and let them crap in the litter box in front of my kids. Like, no, that's not okay.
That's why I tried working for a public school district before my husband and I divorced. And I ended up only lasting like 3 months because there was just no accountability on the students' part, and the teachers were like enforcing that on the like they were enforcing, oh, we need positive reinforcements, but some of these kids don't respond to positivity. They just don't. You cannot, and that doesn't mean turn around and be super negative and be like, oh, I'm gonna beat you with a ruler, but there needs to be some firm response to them, because some of these kids are just run these teachers over, you know?
Well, that's the thing. If positive reinforcement worked, we wouldn't have drill sergeants. We'd have like camp counselors in basic.
Exactly.
You know,
That's a good point.
The government knows it doesn't.
Need you to go take this hill, okay? You and your team, you and your fire squad, okay, Mr. Cuddles, and and then you can get a nap time. All right.
Get nap time. Get
all those guys, and then nap time.
And instead of shooting them, we're going to give you dandelions to bring to them, and you're going to give them hugs.
Yeah.
Because that's what they need. It's
just more star power. Go get them. Go hit them with mind bullets.
If we think positive enough, we'll change them.
Yeah.
Oh man.
There's no such thing as utopia, guys. No such thing.
No, people respond. What I tell my girls, people, and somebody described this to me. I can't remember who it was, but when you try to change a person, you got to think of it like a celery stick, right? You can bend it, but it's going to bounce back, right? If you really want it to change, it's got to break, right? There's going to be some significant event that's got to cause it to break. Now, sometimes that could happen through positive type events, but most of the time it's negative type events or what we consider negative that causes that break. And, you know, throwing away the celery strategy because you can't really put it back together, but like a stone, you know, becomes smooth after tumbling in a river, or, you know, coal becomes diamond, like all that stuff. We're better because of the things that have happened to us, as long as we keep trying, right? We learn from our mistakes. We become better because of what we've gone through. And now we have the experience and the knowledge to help others do the same, but we can't expect them to be like we are because they haven't gone through what we've gone through, right? And I think that's the issue with a lot of the parents nowadays. They're like, oh, I'm going to make my kid just be like me, and I'm not going to discipline my kid because my parents disciplined the heck out of me. Well, why do you think you are the way you are? Now, I'm not saying you should beat your kids a lot. I'm just saying a little bit of discipline goes a long way, right? My thing was like flicking. Like I just flick them. Now I don't even have to touch them. I just say, I'm going to take away your iPad or your cell phone, and they're just angels. And they're girls. And if I had sons, I'd probably still pop them every now and then. But no, I'm just kidding. But that's the thing. Like a discipline is needed, and it's key to our growth. If you're a believer in God or not, it's up to you. But if you look at the Bible, when God wanted to teach his people a lesson, what did he do? Famine, right? Droughts, wars. He let people, like, negative things made them stronger.
Yeah.
And in times of prosperity, people got stupid. And that's where we're at now as a country. We've been very prosperous. We've been very successful. It's easy to make money for the most part if you just know where to look and how to do it. Easy-ish, I should say, not completely easy, but easier than other countries. I'll put it that way. And now, because of the lack of trials and tribulations and difficulty, people are becoming complacent and stupid and just making crazy things. Like, now they're animals and they identify as whatever.
What's that quote? I think I forget what the famous quote is, but it's like, adversity makes strong men, like good times make weak men. It's like, I don't know who said that quote, but it's like so true. Like, if we've had too much good times, I hate to say it, unfortunately, but it's like gonna almost have to take something like a crazy event to make everyone come together, I feel.
Yeah. And that's what God's done in the past, and I think it'll happen again here. I just don't know how soon. I feel it's coming sooner than people expect, though.
Yeah.
I know girls are selling their bodies online like crazy. I'm not saying I'm judging them for doing that, but I'm just saying, in my opinion, as a Christian, I believe it's a sin. If they want to do that, I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to get involved in people's lives here. There's a boundary. But I'm just saying, if you believe in God and the Bible, when you see things like that, that's an indication that there's going to be a bit of a,
there's some signs. Yeah, there's a rain cloud coming in. You're like,
yeah, and it's like, it's terrible. Like on the, I'm sorry to cut you off, Albert, but I just have to say this. Like, on the other side of it, and I feel like not enough people are coming out. Like, as a mother of 3 sons, and as someone who's recently going through the divorce process, like, porn was a huge factor in my decision to divorce my husband. And I feel, and it scares me for my sons, because it's like, I don't want them to think that that's what love is, or to expect that out of a girl, because that's a lot to expect out of someone who's going to go and have your kids. To expect their body to stay that way is, I mean, you can get plastic surgery, you can work out, you can do things like that, but your body's going to change regardless,
Well, yeah. And pornography, just besides drugs, it's one of the worst things out there. It would literally ruin your entire, it changes your brain. I think there was a study done, and they showed somebody who's addicted to pornography, and their brain actually functioned differently than somebody who wasn't. Unrealistic expectations of what love is, of what sex should be, relationships, and these girls that think that, oh, it's okay, like they call it body count now, like something like Call of Duty or military. Like, that's not as cool as body count in Call of Duty, or or even a real sniper's body count. What I mean? Like, that you've had a relationship with someone that was originally only created to be within the bounds of marriage by God, and you've just turned it into a commodity, and it's unfortunate. And they don't see the long-term repercussions of what they're doing now. They just see the money, and they're just, the greed has taken over, and it's ruined them. And so with the father of daughters, I try to always tell our girls, like, hey, it's your body, but while you're in this house, here's the rules. Like, no cell phones or computers in your bedrooms. I don't even want a temptation, right? Expect you to dress modestly. Like, you can choose, you may get away with it in modest clothes, but if I find it may end up being burnt or thrown in the trash later, and it's not because I'm trying to be controlling. I'm trying to teach them to respect who they are, and as a daughter of God, and not some boy's play toy. And and so it's unfortunate.
Well, I'll bring this up.
It takes a while for girls to realize that. Sorry, Albert, go ahead.
No. Well, I was gonna say just a few words, and you can take it further. But that's why there are words for women like grace, elegance, beauty. There's words for men, charisma, charm, all that kind of stuff. Like, those are what bring men and women together, real men, real women together in family, and expand on that, so if you aren't those things, then this person, like in any relationship, if it's not good for one, it's not going to be good for the other or either. And so therefore, your good daughters are going to go, nah, I don't want the bad boy bullshit. I want the real man who knows how to hunt, fish, and, treat me like a queen and all that stuff. So,
Yep.
and get that relationship cycle going. So,
yeah, it's example that the parents set to their children is crucial. It starts in the household. A lot of these parents expect the schools to teach their kids right or wrong. No, they're not. They're just teaching them STEM crap and, that it's okay if you want to be a furry. Like, what? So that's why also, just FYI, we're starting a charter school here. I'm the board treasurer for that. So I'm pretty excited. It's not a faith-based organization, but very conservative, nice values. So that'll hopefully open by the fall of this year. Unfortunately, my daughters will be too old to attend it, but there's so many kids here that will benefit. So I'm excited about that. But
that's really awesome, because we need people like that, because we have parents, because I was on the PTO last year in my son's schools, and they all are trying to think of ways to do that. Teachers are coming together thinking of ways to start charter schools to teach about emotional intelligence too, which I think is huge, because they don't offer emotional intelligence classes at school, like self-awareness. Kids need to learn all that. I mean, it's so crucial to critical thinking later down the line.
Just FYI, Courtney, because I know you're an instructor, if there's a group called National Heritage Academy, I think they have campuses in Texas. We partnered with them. So what's great on the board, like the charter schools under our purview and control and all that, but they're called a third-party operator. We're allowing them to come in and basically help us run. They're not going to do everything, but they have the infrastructure set up, the curriculum, the processes, everything. So it's almost like plug and play. But as a board, we have the direct oversight to make changes, change the curriculum, fire them, et cetera. So it's still under our control as the state law requires, as a nonprofit, as board, but they're a for-profit operator, right? So, but what's great about it is they're going to come in, cover all expense, and I don't work for them. I'm not making money by saying this. To try to get the money, and there's other operators out there, but they're going to come in, they're going to front load all the expenses, cover it out of pocket. We don't have to worry about raising capital or anything. They're going to take care of it all, with the hope that eventually they'll have enough students and they'll start making money after maybe like year 5. Right.
Really? Wow. That's a really good business model.
So it's fantastic, but they also have to have, patience and understand it's a long-term gain for them. But the founder of National Heritage is not in it for a quick buck, right? He really wants to make a difference in the country, and they already have 100 schools across the nation. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, we're pretty excited. We're working on some regulation in the state to get changed. Or at least an exception made, because it says we're not specifically, the teachers can't be employed by a third party operator, but we need them to at least be dual employed so they can get the benefits and we can have access to the technology that, in their systems anyways. So, but yeah, that's what, I've wanted to start a charter school since we moved to Georgia about 7 years ago, because we had that in Colorado and it was great. My kids were more advanced by almost like 2 grade levels when we moved here. There was a dress code, the conservative values, and just the politics and drama was out. It didn't exist in that school. They said the Pledge of Allegiance every day. It was fantastic. And then when I moved here, there was nothing. There's no charter schools nearby. There's private schools that if I wanted to pay like $20,000 a year for per kid, I could do that, but no thanks. At least at the time when we moved in, we couldn't have afford that anyways. But yeah, and so now partnered with the mayor, we got a senator on board. And some pretty cool stuff's going down that we're going to get that charter school open.
That's awesome. Well, good luck to you. I mean, good, and definitely National Heritage. I wrote that down just so I can have it in my back pocket. National Heritage Academy.
And like I said, there's other third-party operators out there that you can reach out to, but not a lot, not as many as I think there should be.
Agreed.
So we're excited about it. At least give the kids a choice and the parents a choice.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yes.
Yeah, choice is always number one. Like that's, like I say, like money is trust tickets, but like 2 words that I go off of, and I think most veterans is trust and performance.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not performing, I can't trust you, and I don't trust you. I'm not gonna value you. If you're not a man or woman of your word, and I mean, I'll forgive you for things. Like, we're going back to what you said about sin and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't expect perfection out of my clients, my staff, myself, my kids, or anybody, but I do expect them to be better. Like, be better tomorrow than you were today.
Yep.
And do something good every day and watch that just stack up behind you. And it's nice that now you've got content out there like Facebook posts or whatever, and people can look back on Spencer's life or mine or whatever and go, wow, I see that, Courtney did good things every day for the past 15 years. And it stacks up. It's a mountain that everybody can see from miles away, and they want to do good things, other good things with you, and be motivated further. So nobody expects perfection, but just be better tomorrow.
I tell my girls, just own it. Own your mistakes. Don't try to hide it. I will be much more lenient if you say, hey, Dad, I screwed up.
Yeah.
And then if you try to hide it or just double down and,
How did that get lost in our system? Like, guys, I fucked up, because does bad news ever get better with age? Of course it doesn't. It gets worse. And that's what I tell my kids, my staff, my clients, man, I hate to tell you this, or, I know you hate to tell me some things sometimes, but something bad happened. You fucked up. I fucked up, whatever. The government sucks. So we got to pivot. The government's screwing you out of something. So we got to pivot. But yeah, it's I don't understand this whole shit of, like, with Congress or whatever, that they'll release something, but then there's all these black lines through the page, and you're like, the fuck is that? Out of 9 lines, 8 of them are rubbed out. What the fuck is that?
Yeah. And like, for me, I tell people, if I mess up, just call me out. Don't try to sugarcoat it or be afraid. Like, I tell my employees or people I'm working with, if there's something I could be doing better, I will be more upset that you didn't tell me than by telling me, right? Because I want to know if there's a process I'm doing wrong. I said something that offended you. Let me know. I'll apologize. Now, if you're just being weak, then that's another story. But if you got an issue with my core value and who I am, then let's not be friends. But if I can be better at sales or finance or whatever I'm doing, let me know. Or if I screw up, let me know. If you feel like I'm not communicating enough, let me know. Reach out. So it's just, people are afraid of offending people, and so much so that they just let it boil up inside them until something happens.
Until it becomes something else, and it's either too much or it's too late or whatever.
Hey, Albert, guys, I forgot to say that I actually am a substitute teacher right now. So I do work in the school system. I forgot. I work at a Catholic hybrid school. So it's similar to the charter schools. It's kind of breaking away, but it's only 2 days a week, which I think I kind of like, they need to do a 5-day-a-week thing. So hopefully that's what your plan is, to do a 5-day.
Yeah. It'll be full 5-day. It'll be K through 8 that we're going to open up to begin with. And hopefully, like we did in Colorado. So when I was on the board in Colorado, it was a K through 8. Then I helped them get the money and the debt to buy a building or build a building to go K through 12. But then we designed it in a way, we partnered with a university to where every kid would graduate with an associate's degree for free from our high school.
That's awesome.
So now, last time I heard, I think it was like 80% of the graduating class all had associate's degrees. You can opt out of it, or you cannot get a high enough grade. But yeah, and it's one of the top ranking schools in the state of Colorado. I think it was number 3 in middle schools, competing with all the public schools. But it's funny, in Colorado, it's a bit of a drama because the charter schools authorizer was the district, right? Which was annoying of itself, because the district felt like the charter school was in competition. And it's like, no, it's just another choice, right? And yet they do a bond issue, but then wouldn't make us a part of the bond issue, but they'd make other schools. So we'd have to sit there and raise our own money. Yeah, and we had the same per pupil revenue that they got, but they got the bond money. So it's just a whole bunch of drama. Whereas in Georgia, the state is our authorizer, which is cool. But we still only get per pupil revenue, right? We can't do a bond issue. We can't go into the governor and be like, hey, let's add some property taxes and get us a bunch more money here to pay the bonds. And so what we do is, technically we could do a bond issue if we wanted like a private placement and going into debt. We could do that, but we got to pay that. And so what's great about the National Heritage, like I said, they're going to cover it all. So it really helps that speed to market. go a lot faster. And the number one reason why charter schools fail is because of capital. There's just not enough money. So I'm pretty excited, but I'm excited to see the change in the kids in this area. A lot of these kids need a bit more discipline and structure and better education. So I'm excited for that change, and I think a lot of parents, are looking forward to that as well. So I'm excited. It'll be fun. And you know what a lot of people, it's funny, when I was on the board in Colorado, and because I'm in finance, they always assumed that I was making money on like the side from the school somehow. I'm like, you don't understand. All of my time is just gone. Like, it's actually a cost to me that I can't even write off on my taxes, and I just doing it because I believe in it. I want to make a difference. And like with this one, I'm not making anything off the charter school. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure I'll make some friends, right? Or people that will use my services, but directly like volunteering, the hours, the amount of time it takes. I'm just glad I'm not board president, because that poor lady, she's retired. It's a full-time job, and she's not making anything. You know what I mean? So it takes a lot out of you to get it done. And because part of it is, a lot of the work is the government that we're working with, I put in quotations, because a lot of it, there are parties there that don't want to see charter schools. There's parties that do. And it's like this crazy web that you have to work through, almost like trying to get approved for VA benefits. It's just a lot of hoops we have to jump through.
So what do you guys think? I used to play this game when I was growing up, of like what 10 years from now is going to look like. And growing up in the 80s, it was pretty easy because, 70s to 80s was pretty similar. 80s to 90s was pretty similar. But then I started getting in high school in 95, 94, whatever. And, but yeah, what do you think about now? What's 10 years from now look like?
I see it going a couple directions. I think there's definitely going to be some sort of catastrophic event that's going to affect a lot of countries, us in particular. I don't know if it's going to be, to do with the financial markets, to do with like some sort of natural catastrophe or war, or AI will finally learn how to build robots like Terminator. But I think something's going to go down in the next 10 years. That's going to be quite significant. But other than that, what I tell my girls, I just one day at a time, take it one day at a time, plan for hope for the best, plan for the worst. And that's why we have a lot of guns. We got a lot of food. We got a lot of ammo. And we have some, plans put into place. We have our go bags. I don't have like some secret bunker anywhere yet. I'm working to that. But, give me a few more years.
Got your spoon out there every day digging.
Right. So
it's funny how all veterans are all thinking about bunkers right now, because literally I'm actually plotting how I'm going to get my bunker 10 years down the line. But sorry, go ahead. I had to say that.
That was pretty much it. I mean, I hope that nothing major happens. But, and also on the biological side, that was my job, chemical operation specialist. We learned about nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare, and with what is it called, crisping technology or CRISPRs. Like, there's some sketchy stuff people can do with that. And the whole COVID thing, like, anybody who doesn't think it was man-made, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of proof. Like, I had COVID, and I was like, this is the weirdest feeling I've ever had. Like, it literally put me in like this brain fog. I'm like, this isn't natural.
I was at least for a couple of days and weeks or whatever. So
yeah, like somebody was playing around with some stuff in the lab that they shouldn't have played with, because like I said, I've had bronchitis like every year of my life. I usually get, the flu or cold, but this was nothing like I'd ever experienced. It was crazy. So anyways, that's my, possible 10 years from now. How about you, Courtney?
I think that so this is my forecast of what's going to happen in the future, in the next 10 years rather. So I think if we don't get dragged into this war overseas right in the next, before the election, if we don't get dragged overseas and Donald Trump wins, I think we're probably good for another 4 years, at least. I think if things pop off before the election, then we're going to war. And hopefully it's not on our motherland. That's just what I hope. I hope that it's on their soil, not ours, unfortunately, but that's just what I hope. And if Biden wins again, then I think it's going to be 4 years of not fun times, not fun. But we'll get through it. It's just going to be like you said, Spencer. You got it. People need to start preparing, start thinking that way. And unfortunately, it's like a anxious way to think about things. But those are just the times that we're living in right now.
I go off of the Bible to where it's like, you're not supposed to live in fear, right? So that I don't fear like the death of things. Of course, I'm, it's like we're on a beginning timeline of our little skin suit, and then we have a lot of other shit happening after that. So, but I mean, I would like my life to be better off, and that's what I tell my kids too. Is the unfortunate reality of being a dad is happiness is not a word that you have. It's like, I'm trying to make you guys happy, take you to dance and school and colors and swim lessons and stuff, out to eat and stuff like that. But like dads don't really get to be happy because we are planning for the worst. And because we do know we got to be Papa Bear. And I know there's Mama Bears out there, but usually we're just different. And moms are more emotional and dads are more like, okay, for real, no shit. There's bad people out there who can do things. And I want to make sure I know where my weapons are, so what window I need to jump out of for whatever reason. So, but yeah, I think I never thought before that we'd have maybe a possibility of a catastrophe, but like Spence was bringing up earlier, that God does seem to, or the world does seem to even go off of like pain. Pain is the ultimate teacher. And I think we're going through some weird pains right now, that being a combat veteran, knowing what the world can get ugly. I've seen a lot of the ugly stuff. I don't want that. I don't want that for us, and I don't want that for anybody else. But like, if you haven't lived it, you don't know. I am a father of 4 children that I've sired, but I'm not a woman. I've never had a body come out of me. So that's not my lived experience. My lived experience is being a dad. And so I can only go off of what I've done. And I don't want what's probably going to happen to the country to happen to the country. And I hope it's something that we can come back from. I hope it's not something that somebody just goes, okay, fucking scorched earth. Everybody's got fucking mustard gas and everybody's fucked. I would hate for that. I mean, I hear all these fucking weirdos talking about population control and stuff. And I say weirdos, the people shaking the jar. Those are the weirdos pulling all the strings, talking about, I mean, the I don't want to say it on here, but the organization that keeps meeting often talking about fucking getting rid of a bunch of us and making everybody eat bugs. Like, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
that's just ridiculous. So there's so much abundance on this earth. God put it here. I think we really are fighting Satan in all its glory and whatever and fuck and I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be in this world or if it's going to be in the next that everything gets better, but I don't know. I never had to be that uncertain. And I think most of us don't like being uncertain. So I don't want to say it's a sense of fear, but it's damn sure uncertain. And I don't like being uncertain.
No, and I'm with you there. It's like, you've probably seen the movie Taken, right? Tell my girls, like, I think about stuff like that I would literally, and I would go and I'd probably torture him a bit longer than he did, actually. If somebody messed with my family, that's the only thing that would cause me to get violent, other than protecting, my country. But, I'm a nice guy. I've never punched somebody out of anger in my life. I'm not built that way. But somebody messes with my family, I'll end them, right, in a bad way. And it's, preparing. But we talk about it as a family. If the world does go through something horrific, and we're talking like apocalyptic type thing, we'd want to be the first people to just go. You know what I mean? Like, drop a bomb on Atlanta, we're good. Like, I don't want to try to survive by killing, people for food. You know what I mean? Like that's just, or people wanting to kill me for my food. That's just a bad way to live. But, I'm not going to end my life if we do enter that, right? I'll fight and do what needs to be done. And it's crazy to think about, that could happen. I mean, you see it in the movies, but you've seen it in real life. Like war can change things very quickly. All right. And that's what I think a lot of politicians and people in this country don't realize. Yeah, you're comfortable now, but you'll be thankful that, a lot of Americans still have guns if somebody starts knocking at our door. Right. And, especially people like us that have been trained how to use it, you're be glad that we're good shots and better shots than the people coming in after us. And that we have a 20 to 1 ratio of guns per American or whatever it is. But, like I said before, it's the people who have that fame and they think that they're famous that just, I've seen it almost every single time. There's very few famous people that I think are still normal and that I would trust with my children. You know what I mean? Like, I can't even name one off the top of my head, actually. But, and it's unfortunate that that's the case, but it just, you get a big head and it changes who you are. So that's what I'm trying to do is with my girls is just say, hey, no matter how successful we are, no matter how many vacations we can take, just remember 2 things is it can end at any moment and it's all from God. And, be grateful for what we have while we have it. That's all we can do. And also what I have is not yours, just by the way. Like your mom and I travel and you're just coming with us because she won't let me leave you at home. That's really
we tried to put you in a kennel before. It didn't work. So, yeah.
We got a house sitter for the dogs, but apparently we can't leave the girls. But no, and they know, just trying to keep them grounded, right? I'm like, I don't want my girls going to school, pretending like they're better than anyone else because we're not. I don't care if you are homeless or you are Bill Gates. You're still a person, You have a few zeros after your name and you can hire people to do whatever you want. But in the end, we're all flesh and blood. And it takes one bullet to end our lives or a heart attack or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and we're all fragile.
Yeah.
So you just never know.
With the, like what you were saying with what's in the future, I'm not really scared to be honest with you. I'm not really nervous. I'm not really because when, y'all have been deployed. I don't know about you, Spencer. I haven't been down range, but I haven't been to Afghanistan or what have you. But the tide comes in, tide goes out. You know what I mean? Like there's always war going on in some part of the world. Even if it's peaceful over here, there's war. In Africa, there's war in these different countries. So unfortunately, like our turn is coming. It's not if, it's when. And, we just have to brace for shock, It's not a negative way. I don't mean to sound negative. I just mean to sound like we just have to come together and, hold the line as Americans.
Yeah, death doesn't scare me. It's dying slowly, all right, and like being in diapers. And then something happened to my girls. Like those are the only things that really concern me. Like, we happen to die in a plane crash, I'm ready. I've tried to live a decent life and say my prayers, read my scriptures, go to church, pay my tithing. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'm trying. Right. So the whole dying part doesn't scare me. And that's what I always tell people I work with. It's like, tell me what happens if you don't die, but you die slowly. Are you prepared for that? Like, who's going to take care of you? What's your estate plan look like? You know what I mean? We just don't think about that stuff. But for me, that's, and then being an entrepreneur, basically self-employed, I eat what I kill, right? I don't have a guaranteed paycheck from anywhere coming in. And so other than like, what's the next deal that I'm going to close, it's just worrying about my girls, making sure they're making the right choices, and that I don't need to go throat punch some little kid who messes with my girls,
Exactly.
Throat punch. No.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can leave off on throat punch. We're coming to a close here, but Appreciate you guys being here today. And Courtney, do you have any closing comments for anything we chat about today?
No, I really enjoyed the conversation and the time y'all spent, and thank you for having me on.
It's our pleasure. Spencer, any closing comments besides throat punch?
Yeah, right. No, likewise. Appreciate you.
I got to find a good exit. That's a great one.
Actually, it's got to be like this for the throat. No, no, I appreciate you having me on. I'm happy to, anything financial related as far as personal finance, credit. I mean, I give advice for free. I'm just happy to help, especially if you're a veteran. And then I am going to be reaching out to you to help me with my VA stuff. So looking forward to actually maybe winning against the VA here instead of losing.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. And Courtney, do too, because there's a lot more money than 100% is great. That gets you through the gate. All their doors out there for you. So just
awesome.
Let you know. I'll brief you up on that. But yeah. Well, awesome, guys. Well, I appreciate you. And we'll bring this to a close. We do this every week. So Fireside Friday, we'll record it, and then it takes a couple of days for Nashville producers to chop it up and send it out there and all that kind of stuff. But I appreciate you guys being here today. And I know you're doing good things and it's stacking up so you and your family and everybody can look behind and see it. So appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you again soon.